Absolute examining the mother of Israel reveals that their specific blessings and actions, sometimes unconventional, were pivotal in the steering their husbands toward the divine destiny Yah had ordered. In the Jewish tradition, these four women are so central that the daughters are still blessed with the words, may the Most High Yah make you like Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. Sarah, the mother of the nations. Sarah's blessing was a direct mirror of Abraham. The Most High Yah changed her name from Sarai to Sarah, princess. Didn't I tell you that's what that meant? Didn't I tell y'all that's what that meant? I knew that's what that meant. I knew it. S-A-R. Didn't I just reveal that to you in another video? You gonna tell me this ain't the Most High Yah? I didn't know this was gonna bring this up. And the promise she would be a mother of nations, from whom kings would come. Courting the destiny. Sarah's path was defined by the faith that eventually overcame doubt, while she famously suggested Hagar to help. The Most High Yah promised her ultimate legacy is the one of oneness with Abraham. By finally believing she could conceive at the age of 90, she enabled the birth of Isaac, the sole heir of the covenant. Rebecca, the visionary mother. Rebecca is often seen as more spiritually perceptive than Isaac regarding their son's future. During a difficult pregnancy, she inquired to the Most High Yah and received a specific prophecy: the older shall serve the younger. Courting the destiny. When Isaac intended to give the primary blessing to the elder son Esau, Rebecca intervened, though her methods disguising Jacob were deceptive. They were driven by her conviction to align the family with the word she received from the Most High Yah. She ensured the covenant passed to Jacob, who would become Israel. Rachel and Leah, the builders of Israel. Though they lived in a love triangle of rivalry, both sisters are credited in the book of Ruth with building the house of Israel. Leah's spiritual grounding, often unloved by Jacob, Leah turned her gaze towards the Most High Yah. Her fourth son, Judah, means praise, signaling her shift from seeking her husband validation to praising the Most High Yah. From her line came the David King and the Messiah. Excuse me. Rachel's sacrifice and patience. Rachel is remembered for her deep personal qualities and her weeping for her children. In some traditions, her greatest act was sacrificing her own wedding night to spare Leah's public embarrassment, an act of sisterly compassion that allowed the 12 tribes to begin forming as a unified family. Would you like to focus on prophetic signification of the names Leah gave her children and explore the specific parallels between Sarah and Rebecca's experience with barrenness? Did they copy that? Both paths offer profound insights in the matriarch's role. To honor your request to stick strictly to the Hebrew Bible tonight, here's a breakdown of the path. Prophetic significance of Leah's children. Leah's naming process reflects the spiritual evolution from seeking human validation to divine praise. Each name is a declaration of her internal state and Yah's response to her. Do you see? She stopped worshiping at the feet of Jacob and started worshiping Yah. Reuben, see a son, deriving from Raha to see, and Ben son. She stated, Yah, the Most High Yah has seen my affliction, hoping this would finally make Jacob love her. Simeon, hearing, from the root Shema, to hear. She declared, the Most High Yah heard that I was unloved, acknowledging that while her husband was distant, the Most High Yah was listening. Levi attached, based on Levi to join. She still hoped for a domestic shift. Now this time, my husband will be attached to me. Judah praised. The pivotal shift occurs here. She stopped pleading for Jacob's attention and declares, this time I will praise the Most High Yah. This son line will eventually hold a scepter of royalty. Later sons named like Issachar wages war. Zebulun, honor and dwelling. Continue this theme on recognize the value and divine gift. Parallel, Sarah versus Rebecca. The barrenness of these two matriarchs creates a reoccurring motif in Genesis, highlighting that the conventional line was not a natural occurrence but a divine act. I told y'all this was divine, especially Sarah's. Duration, barren for decades, child born at the age 90, barren for 20 years before conceiving twins. Divine response, 3 visitors angels announced the birth. The Most High Yah grants Isaac's intercession prayer. Sarah still shall have a son. 2 nations are in your womb. The older shall serve the younger. The Most High Yah visited Sarah as he had promised. Isaac entreated the Most High Yah on her behalf. Key parallel. In both cases, the chosen son Isaac for Sarah, Jacob for Rebekah, was born to a woman whose womb was naturally closed, signifying that the destiny of Israel was entirely dependent on the Most High Yah sovereign choice rather than human biological strength. I told y'all sleeping on a miracle with Sarah, y'all. Which of these matriarchs' individual response to their closed womb do you feel directly shaped the specific destiny of the respective sons? I want to go back to y'all's covenant. That's what I want to do. Okay. In the Hebrew Bible, the restoration of Israel is not just a physical return to the land, but a spiritual turning back. Teshuvah that begins within the domestic spirit of Jacob's household. This process hinges on the collective transition from individual striving and idolatry to the unified focus on the Most High Yah, the domestic purging of idols. The former restoration, Genesis 35, when Jacob receives a divine command to return to Bethel, the place of his first encounter with the Mosiah. Before they could occupy this holy ground, the radical internal restoration is required, renouncing foreign gods. Jacob commands his household to put away the foreign gods which are among you. The women participation. This includes the teraphim, household idols that Rachel had taken from her father. The woman and the rest of the household surrendered these idols and their symbolic jewelry to Jacob, who burned them under an oak tree near Shechem. This act of burial marked the end of their ties to the pagan influence of Padan Aram. Ritual purification. The family was instructed to purify yourselves and change your garments, symbolizing a clean break from their past and readiness to encounter the Most High's presence. Leah's shift from man pleasing to praise. Leah's personal turning back is a prophetic prototype for the nation's spiritual restoration. Her journey through rejection led her to a pivotal realization, the naming of Judah. For her first three sons, Leah focused on what was gaining Jacob's affection. However, after the birth of her fourth son, Judah, she declared, "This time I will praise the Most High Yah." Restoration through praise. By shifting her focus from her husband's validations to the Most High Yah's sovereignty, she birthed the royal line. This teaches that Israel's true restoration begins when the people stop courting worldly approval and return to their primary identity as a people of praise, the meaning of Yahudim. The renaming from Jacob to Israel. Once the household was purified and the women had surrendered their idols, the Most High Yah appeared to Jacob at Bethel and formally confirmed his new name, Israel, a national identity. This was not just a personal change, it was the birth of a nation. The restoration was complete when the supplanter Jacob became the one who prevails with God, Israel. Woo! And the covenant reaffirmed. Only after this collective turning back did the Most High Yah reiterate the promise given to Abraham and Isaac, that a company of nations and kings would come from his lines. Rachel's sacrifice and future hope. Rachel's death and burial on the way to Bethlehem, Genesis 35 and 19, established her as the matriarch who weeps for her children in the prophetic tradition of the Tanakh, notable in what? Jeremiah 31:15-17. Her tears are a catalyst for the promise. Your children shall come back to their own country. Her life and death symbolize the labor pains required to birth the restored nation. How do you see the act of burying the idols under the oak tree reflect the specific turning back required of a nation in the later prophetic books of Hosea and Jeremiah? Let's see. Copy. The act of burying the idols under the oak at Shechem creates a blueprint for the turning back Shavuot that later prophets would demand from the nation. It represents a move from synchronism, trying to follow Yah while keeping the teraphim, to exclusivity, y'all. The oak at Shechem, a prophetic pattern. In the Tanakh, the burial of foreign gods is the physical manifestation of the heart change Jeremiah and Hosea later preached. Jeremiah, uncircumcised heart. In Jeremiah 4 1 through 4, the prophet calls Israel to put away your abominations out of my sight. Jacob's act of burying the jewelry and idols was a literal breaking up of fallow ground, removing the obstacles so that the family could finally sow in righteousness. Hosea, Valley of Achor, Hosea 2 13 and 17 explicitly links the removal of idols, the Baals, the false husbands, y'all. The false husband, Baal means husband, the false husband, to a renewal of the marriage covenant. Just as Jacob's wives had to abandon the gods of their father's house to fully enter the destiny of Israel. Hosea predicts a day when Israel will no longer call the Most High Yah my master Baal, but my husband Isha. We're going to put away Baal, y'all, and go marry Yah. The name was Rachel's son, from sorrow to strength. Rachel naming her sons reflect the transition from the pains of exile to the strength of restoration. Ben Onan to Benjamin. As she was dying, Rachel named her second son Ben Onan, son of my sorrow. Jacob, however, immediately renamed him Benjamin, son of my right hand. Prophetic link. The shift mirrors the promise of Jeremiah 31:13 that the Most High Yah would turn their mourning into joy. The sorrow of the matriarch, the labor of the exile, is transformed into the strength of the nation's right hand to return. The blessings of Joseph, the fruitful bow. In Genesis 49, 22 and 26, Jacob blesses Joseph as the fruitful bow by a well. He's by the well, y'all, whose branches run over the wall. The shepherd and the stone. Jacob identified Joseph's strength as the coming from the mighty one of Jacob. Joseph represents the provider who was separated from his brothers, but ultimately became the means of their survival. Restoration theme. The blessing established Joseph, Ephraim, Manasseh as the cornerstone of the north strength of Israel, which must eventually be reunited with the southern scepter, Judah. Obadiah, Joseph as the flame. The short book of Obadiah provides a short military fulfillment of Joseph's destiny in the context of restoration. The fire and the flame. Obadiah 1:18 states that the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph flame, and the house of Esau stubble. The role of the mother's seed. While the blessing in Genesis focuses on Joseph's fruitfulness and protection, Obadiah reveals Joseph's role in the final restoration judgment of Edom. This fulfills the original oracle given to Rebekah, that the older shall serve the younger. The flame of Joseph consumes the stubble of those who hinders Israel's destiny. In this light, the restoration isn't just about coming home. It's about the house of Joseph and the house of Judah, Leah and Rachel's son, finally operating in specific gifting, one as the scepter, the other as the flame, to clear the way of the Most High Yah's kingdom. Would you like to look closer at Joseph and Judah's reconciliation in Genesis served as specific model of two sticks prophecy in Ezekiel 37? No. I think this should be enough to get us all to turn back to Yah. This should be enough to get us all to turn back to Yah. This should be enough to get us all to turn back to Yah only. Do you want to go back to being in peace and happiness and living under Yah's authority, then we have to remember his law, remember his statutes, and remember his commandments. Are you Torah tight? And are you Tanakh tight? Do you know what these books say in the Paleo Hebrew? Or are you still worshiping at the feet of men? Their translation, their words, and their language. Or do you want to go back to the original language of Yah so you can get the authority that was pronounced by Yah, how Yah said it was going to be, how Yah said it was going to go, how Yah said. And the Most High Yah says in Isaiah 34:16, read my book carefully. Read it carefully. That means read it in my language. Read it in my way, not man's way, not the way man translated, not the way man did it, the way I did it originally. He's going to bring us back to the mother tongue that we originally had. Why aren't you learning what the Most High Yah is saying in his language? Let's give y'all the praise. Let's give y'all the glory. And let's do it Yah's way so we can go back home. All praises to the Most High Yah and him alone. Hallelujah.